Midnight caller, who's really there? It was just after midnight when my phone rang, a sharp, unexpected sound that shattered the quiet of my apartment. I stared at the screen. No caller ID. At first, I thought it might have been a glitch, maybe even a wrong number. But something about that call felt different. You know that strange feeling you get when something's off, but you can't quite explain why? That was me, sitting in the dark, heart racing, phone still buzzing in my hand. I let it ring out the first time. But then it happened again. And again. Same time. Same way. No name. No number. Just silence on the other end whenever I answered, like someone was there, listening. Not breathing heavily. Not whispering. Just there. That kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. Now, I'm not the type to get spooked easily. I live alone, yeah, but I've always felt safe in my space. Lock the doors. Keep the lights low. Mind my business. But after that third call, something shifted. I started noticing little things. My front door slightly open when I was sure I'd locked it, a light left on that I definitely turned off, and this one time, my dog refused to go near the hallway, just stood there growling low at nothing I could see. At first, I wondered if it was just my imagination, maybe I'd been watching too many horror movies or scrolling creepy Reddit threads late at night. But then something happened that I couldn't explain away. Something that made me realize this wasn't just some prank or a tech glitch. This was real. And whoever was calling, they weren't just trying to scare me. They were already closer than I thought. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the lights on in every room and sat on the couch with my dog beside me, both of us wide awake, listening. Every creak in the walls, every gust of wind outside, it all felt louder, more alive. I kept checking the locks, double, even triple checked them. But deep down, I couldn't shake this feeling that I wasn't alone. Like someone was just outside, watching, waiting. The next morning, I tried to brush it off. Told myself maybe I was overthinking it all. But when I looked at my phone, I saw something that made my stomach drop. The call logs showed 5 missed calls from that same blocked number. All around midnight. All within minutes of each other. I hadn't imagined it. It was real. I started asking around, my neighbors, friends, if anyone else had been getting strange calls. Most hadn't. One guy in the next building said he thought he'd seen someone standing near my window the other night, just across the street, but couldn't get a good look before they slipped away. That's when I remembered something else. A few weeks back, I sold an old desk online. A guy came to pick it up, quiet, kept his head down. Paid in cash. Didn't say much. But I caught him staring at the hallway photos on my wall, like he was trying to memorize them. At the time, I figured he was just being weird. Now, I wasn't so sure. Could he have come back? Could he have been watching me this whole time? I went through my security camera app, the one I rarely used, and scrolled through the recordings. Most were just boring clips of me coming and going. But around 12:03 a.m., same time as the first call, there was a video. It showed my porch. And someone was standing there. Not close, just at the edge, half hidden in the shadows. The figure didn't knock. Didn't move. Just stood still, facing the door. I paused the video, trying to make out the shape. The camera didn't catch a face. Just a tall figure in dark clothes, unmoving. It chilled me to the bone. That night, I turned my phone off. But even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that they were still trying to reach me. In some way I hadn't figured out yet. Over the next few days, things started to spiral. The calls stopped for a bit, but the silence somehow felt worse. Like whoever it was had switched tactics. I started noticing small things around my apartment, nothing huge, just off. My keys weren't where I left them. The kitchen window was cracked open one morning even though I never open it. My shampoo bottle in the shower was moved to the opposite corner. Tiny changes that made me question if I was losing it, or if someone had been inside. I talked to my friend Maya about it. She's the rational one. Works in IT, super logical, not the type to get caught up in spooky stuff. At first, she thought I was just stressed. But when I showed her the porch video, she went quiet. Said I should report it, maybe get new locks, better security. So I did. I replaced the front lock, added a deadbolt, even bought a cheap indoor camera to set up in the living room. But it didn't make me feel safer. If anything, it made me feel more paranoid. Like I was bracing for something worse. Around the same time, I started having dreams. Not just random ones, the same one, every night. I'd be standing in my hallway, staring at the front door. It would slowly open, and I'd see someone standing there, face completely blank, just staring back. I'd wake up sweating, heart racing. But what freaked me out most was waking up and finding the hallway light turned on, even though I swear I never touched it. Maya offered to stay over one night, just to see if anything weird happened while I wasn't alone. That night, no calls, no strange sounds. But early the next morning, she swore she heard someone whispering outside the window. She checked, and of course, no one was there. But she looked shaken. Said it didn't sound like a voice on the street, it sounded like it was right outside the glass. And then there was the newspaper. Left at my door. No note, no envelope. Just a folded-up page from an old local crime story about a man who used to call his victims late at night, right before he showed up. The headline read, "Midnight Caller Strikes Again." I couldn't stop staring at that newspaper. It was yellowed and creased, like it had been kept for years. The headline felt like a message, like whoever was behind this wanted me to know exactly what they were doing, and that it wasn't random. I kept asking myself, why me? Why now? I'd never been involved in anything strange. No enemies. No drama. Just a normal life in a quiet apartment. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on the couch with the curtains drawn, every light on, the indoor camera recording. Around midnight, the air shifted, you know that feeling when everything suddenly goes still? No cars. No wind. Just this heavy silence. And then came the knock. Not loud. Not frantic. Just a single, soft knock on the front door. I froze. My dog started barking like crazy, hackles raised. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and looked at the indoor cam feed. No one was visible through the peephole cam, but the sound was clear, another knock, this time slower. I texted Maya. She told me not to open the door under any circumstance and to call the police. But when I finally worked up the courage to peek through the peephole, the hallway was empty. No footsteps. No sound. Just that quiet again. I opened the camera feed again and rewound the footage. What I saw made my stomach turn. At exactly 12:01 a.m., the camera showed a figure stepping into frame, same as before, tall, dark hoodie, face blurred by the shadows. But this time, they walked up to the door, looked straight into the camera, and waved. Just a small, slow wave, like they knew I was watching. Then they turned and walked away. I showed the video to the building manager the next morning. He looked spooked but tried to play it down, said maybe it was a delivery driver or some drunk neighbor messing around. But when I asked to see the hallway security footage from that night, he hesitated. Said the system had been acting up lately. The cameras glitched and didn't record anything from midnight to 12:15. The next evening, I stayed at Maya's place. I needed space, time to think, but when I went back to grab a few things, I noticed something new. My bedroom mirror had a smudge on it, not random, not from me. A fingerprint. Just one. Right in the center. I stood there staring at it, heart pounding, when my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. No ID. Just one message this time. "You're getting closer." That was it. No voice. No context. But it confirmed what I'd feared, this wasn't over. Not even close. They were watching me. They knew my routine, my fears, everything. I could feel it in my bones now. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a stalker or a prank. This felt like a game. One I didn't know I'd started. And the worst part? I had no idea what they wanted, or how much time I had left. I stood there, staring at that message. You're getting closer. Closer to what? Was it a warning, or a threat? I didn't know. I just knew something had shifted. This wasn't about scaring me anymore. This was about control. Whoever was doing this wanted me to feel like I was being pulled deeper into something I didn't understand. I didn't go back to Maya's. I needed answers. I started digging into that old newspaper article, the one left at my door. It was dated back almost 12 years. The Midnight Caller had targeted 3 people in my city, all living alone, all getting strange calls before vanishing without a trace. No suspects. No bodies. Just silence. But here's what shook me: one of the victims had lived in my exact building. Different unit, same floor. Apartment 4B. I live in 4D. That couldn't be a coincidence. I went to the building archives, asked the manager about that old case. At first, he brushed it off, said it was just local gossip, an urban legend. But the way he said it felt rehearsed. Like he'd been told to keep quiet. I pressed harder. Finally, he admitted something strange. The guy who lived in 4B disappeared in the middle of the night. No signs of struggle, no break-in. Just gone. And here's the part that made my blood run cold: the last security footage from that night showed the same shadowy figure I'd seen. Same height. Same dark clothes. Same stillness. I didn't know who to trust anymore. Not the building manager. Not the cameras. And maybe not even myself. That night, I set up my camera in a new spot, pointed directly at the hallway from inside my apartment. I needed to see more. I needed proof. I stayed up, watching the feed live on my laptop, my eyes barely blinking. At 12:09 a.m., it happened again. But this time, the figure didn't stop at the door. I watched, frozen, as the door handle on the screen slowly turned, not fully, just enough to click. The lock held. But whoever it was had tried to open it. Then the camera glitched. Just for a second. When the feed came back, the hallway was empty. But there was something worse waiting. A second message. Same blocked number. This time, no words. Just a photo. It was a shot of me, asleep on the couch. Taken from inside the apartment. That moment shattered everything I thought I knew. This person, they weren't just outside anymore. They had been in my home. They had crossed the line. And I had no idea when or how. I tore through every drawer, every cabinet, searching for a hidden camera, a mic, anything. Nothing. Whatever was happening, it was way bigger than a few phone calls or knocks at the door. Someone was playing with me. Following a plan. And now I wasn't just being watched. I was being hunted. I didn't sleep after that photo. How could I? Someone had been in my apartment while I was unconscious, close enough to take that picture. I tore the place apart again, checked vents, behind furniture, even inside the walls where I could reach. Still nothing. But I kept coming back to that old case, to apartment 4B. There had to be something I was missing. That afternoon, I snuck into 4B. The unit had been empty for years, supposedly under maintenance. The door was stiff, the air thick with dust, but what I found inside stopped me cold. The walls were covered in photographs, printed in black and white, taped with care. All of people. Sleeping. At bus stops. In their homes. Through windows. I recognized some faces. One was Maya. Another was me. And in the center of the wall, under a cracked light bulb, was a photo of the original article, Midnight Caller Strikes Again. There were names scribbled below the photos. All crossed out. Except mine. I backed out of there fast, heart pounding, trying to stay calm. I called the police, gave them everything. The video clips. The photos. Even the texts. For the first time, they actually listened. They swept the building, pulled prints, and found something, a hidden crawlspace between 4B and my unit. Inside it? A sleeping bag. Food wrappers. A phone. The phone had hundreds of photos. All recent. All of me. They traced it back to the man who bought my desk. His real name was tied to an old missing persons case. He'd disappeared after being questioned in connection to another stalking report out of state. He'd been living in the walls for weeks, maybe longer. But just when I thought it was finally over, when I felt the first real breath of relief in days, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. No name. Just one sentence typed in bold: he was never working alone. Suddenly, it all clicked: the glitched cameras, the hesitant building manager, the missing footage. Someone else had been helping him. Maybe still was. The midnight caller wasn't just one person. It never had been. I held that letter in my hands for a long time, reading the words over and over. He was never working alone. It felt like the final piece of the puzzle, and yet, it opened up even more questions. Who else had been involved? Was it someone I saw every day? Someone who smiled and held the elevator door for me? That thought haunted me more than anything, the idea that danger had been so close, hiding in plain sight. The police kept the case open, but there were no arrests after the man from 4B was taken into custody. He refused to speak, wouldn't answer questions, just stared blankly like he wasn't even there. No names, no motives. Just silence. They did confirm he'd been squatting in the building for weeks, maybe longer. The crawlspace had holes drilled into the walls, tiny ones, where he'd watched, listened, memorized. The calls, the photos, the fingerprints, all part of his routine. But how he knew so much about the old case, and who helped him, remains a mystery. Maya moved shortly after. Said she couldn't stay in the building, not after everything. I understood. I stayed a little longer, mostly because I needed closure. I needed to face the place that had made me feel so powerless. I replaced the locks again. Got a new phone. New number. New habits. And slowly, the fear faded into something else, not comfort, but awareness. I still think about the nights I sat on my couch, wide-eyed, waiting for the next knock, the next message. And now I wonder how many others are living with that same silence, mistaking it for safety. The midnight caller was more than one person. He was a warning. A reminder that not all threats are loud. Some slip through cracks. Some wear familiar faces. Some wait in the shadows, patient. It took everything in me to reclaim a sense of normal life, but I did. Mostly. I still jump when the phone rings late. Still double-check my windows. But I don't live in fear anymore. I live aware. And if you ever get a call after midnight, no number, no voice, don't ignore it. It might just be nothing. But then again, it might already be too late.